Dear ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We're going to continue working today. We're going to talk upon the topic, the artistic and cultural presentation about Bach. We are going to have the speakers Leonid Maruschak, art director, curator, the UCMC, author of the cultural artistic residence about the Bach idea, Yevhenia Moliar, art manager, interactive and discussion program curator, and Alina Yakubenko, artist, usual, the visual program director, and also some other. Thank you for the fact you gathered here today. We are going to talk about the idea of this cultural and artistic idea in the city of Vinnytsia. This project is a bright example, graphic example that we do not want to heal the wounds and try to anticipate something and to strengthen our body. The first task we face to anticipate the conflict situation, which can be related to the new laws which have been adopted in Ukraine. We know those problems. You know that the laws were adopted, and there is heaps of infographics which demonstrate that the overwhelming majority of the population don't know about those anti-constitutional laws and they are attitude towards them. That's why we decided to create such a platform consisting of two parts, visual and discussion ones. We are going to visit Vinnytsia in August. We are going to invite more than 20 artists and a group of experts who are going to work on this topic. How it's going to happen? In Vinnytsia there is a very nice location, very symbolic, which is called former Cinema Russia. This is the example of Russian constructivism, which is in this downtown, in the center of the city. This location is over the southern Bug river, the historical name of which is Bog. So this historical name, which has been fixed in the memory of the Vinnytsia residents, it could look critical, but at the same time it demonstrates the problems and anti-constitutional laws included. So we're going to visit that. We're going to start our work on August 20th. We are going in parallel the artistic residence, which is going to be located directly within the premises of that cinema theaters. More than 20 artists are going to work on this topic, and everything's okay. They're going to demonstrate their vision of this problem, visual product, and also discussion platform, which is going to operate for all the period of all those 20 years. Also in the lecture hall, the cinema theater, we are going to consider the topics associated with those anti-constitutional laws. There are a lot of different lectures, among which we are going to talk about the essence of this artistic residence. And this project is not to protect communist inheritance or legacy, but the humane attitude towards the, first of all, cultural and artistic heritage and legacy. We know, according to the directives in the principles, mechanisms, how the laws are implemented, a great risk is posed on the creation works. Mosaics, great, let's say, mural pictures and the cultural monuments, which are subject to this assembly, and in fact the elimination of those. We are against that. We do not want to be looked at the international scene as a country which cannot take care of their cultural legacy. We would like to put this topic at the corner of we are not talking about the visual things. We are going to talk about literature, cinema, and different aspects of cultural life in Ukraine. We're also going to talk about humanitarian policy of the Ukraine as a whole, and how the adoption of those laws can stimulate development of humanitarian policy and the acute need or demand the need for its implementation, their implementation in Ukraine. I'll turn the mic to Yevhenia Moliar, who is the artistic person and curator of this project. He's going to tell you more about how we're going to use this former Russia cinema theater, and we hope that all those will be present at this very big event.
Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to say that our entire program does raise issues based on two major notions: the mutation of the city and transformation of the memory. Everything that's happening now can go on in a very painful way, and we have to research and analyze how these processes can happen in a painless way and in a civilized way. Apart from numerous discussions that we have planned, the result of our work is going to be visual. This is going to be the exhibition of modern art created by artists during this event. We are involving the toolkit of modern art, besides a documentary theater as an instrument of getting to know the society and how to accumulate and activize the common social issues and modern cultural practices that have to visualize the opportunity to rethink and exist in non-existent cultural spaces, like for instance this movie theater, which is now empty and doesn't work. Movie theater is like Russia movie theater are typical, and they are in almost every Ukrainian regional center. Most of them are in the same state as in Vinnytsia. Part of them are rented out to different commercial outlets, but mostly they are neglected and decompose and deconstruct. And there are two possible ways of the future fate of such objects. They are either ruined, destroyed, and some commercial properties built in their place, or as we suggest, they can be rethought. They should not be cast out as a Soviet rudiment, but modern architects will suggest their projects, and we will try to fill this space with life for 10 days. And the experience that we get in Vinnytsia can be used in every region. So we conduct a case study in Vinnytsia, and then the same residences can happen in movie theaters across Ukraine. And I think that now Alina will tell us specifically about the artists that will work there and how they plan to raise the issues of mutation transformation in their works. I am a curator of the visual program. We will have 20 artists from Ukraine, several artists from Russia, one from Berlin, and we involve to the maximum artists from Vinnytsia. So far we have 5 of them. Some of them are street artists. They will work with the local context, and we have 5 street artists who will work with public space, so that the meeting with modern art is less traumatic for the residents of Vinnytsia. We'll have presentations every several days where the artists will be able to not only show their works, but also tell how they work and why they use this or this means of expression. As a result, this is going to be the exhibition that will be presented on the 30th in the movie theater in Vinnytsia, and also on the territory of the city. And we hope that this residence will exist in the future. I also want to give the floor to Anya Sovchinska, who is a public activist from Vinnytsia. She'll tell us about the public opinion of those who are already taking part in our project and how she participates in it. Hello, I am Anya, I'm from Vinnytsia. I have lived in this city for my entire life. I remember this movie theater in a different dimension. It was very interesting location, and it was in use, very active use until the early 2000 and until only 21st century. But now, within 5 years, it can become entirely ruined. It is very interesting that this project is happening in Vinnytsia. It is a real project, and I do hope that not only public activists but also average residents of Vinnytsia will be involved in it very actively as viewers and also as people who take part. The movie theater is in the very center of Vinnytsia, but many people do not know that it is there. And if some of you come there, then you will understand this paradox. I joined this project because the request for cultural projects is a signal that the city is developing. We are overcoming the provincialism, and we are coming over to develop the space that we have. For Vinnytsia, an opportunity to have such a project is an opportunity to change our perception of the city, because the changes that are happening in Vinnytsia, like fountains and trams with Wi-Fi, and this, I think, becomes the biggest joy for Vinnytsia residents, because you get out of the streetcar and there's a tram with Wi-Fi, but of course this means much more to Vinnytsia. And I have the hope that this specific project will wake up the local residents. For instance, this name over the bog does not only tell us about religious context, but also about what's overimposing the city, the southern Bog River, why it became so cold, and these constant transformations, and we now have a commission on decommunization, which will in fact look into renaming the streets and founding the basis for it. It would be very cool. However, I don't know how realistic is this to prepare infographics and see how the central streets changed their names, how this happened according to a political regime, according to who had which influence in the city. And I think that such ideas will be born during the work of the residents, and then they will be realized in the city.
I'm going to return to the topic of Vinnytsia. Why there? They often ask, despite the fact that this is my native city, but Vinnytsia is a graphic example of as the dialogue between how dialogue between society and the power that be can lead to a very exclusive and graphic examples how we can get a very good result. And that's why this choice of Vinnytsia was not an accidental one. And we are going to place an emphasis on the guests from the eastern regions for them to understand how important it is to lead the dialogue, not accuse somebody or to prove that somebody is indebted to somebody else, and we have to work together, and this will be instrumental to obtain some result. Also, we were talking about the decommunisation laws. There were some of the workouts, very progressive ones. First of all, we outlined the procedure or sequence, what we are going to start with. We start with the names of the streets, and there was a commission for justification of renaming the streets, squares, etc. And this commission has been working for 1.5 months. Already this early work, they selected the names of streets which would be worthwhile to rename, and they provide the possibility to all those wishing to be involved in this process, and they openly send in the letters with the proposals regarding this or another street or square and anything else. We gathered all that information, submitted to the commission for their consideration. They came up with a short list, and then they are going to select to decide what would be the name of those streets. But this is not very quick or won't happen fast. And again, we are going to spread this experience beyond the boundaries of the city of Vinnytsia, all over Ukraine. We would like to offer the alternative. How could be the artists, the artistic persons, and the youth who were kind of onlookers of those processes in Ukraine before. We are going to integrate them, to involve them. We are going to provide the opportunity to the artists, to young philosophers, or the historians to speak up their minds, to provide their arguments and justifications. We are going to consider that as well. And over all this time, we are going to have the discussion platform in place, and the municipal powers are going to work with us. They're going to allocate the reps for each discussion platform in order to see the information we are going to present. I myself put myself at task as the organizer of this artistic and cultural residence. The launch of the artistic thinking in the city of Vinnytsia. It's there, but it's being interpreted or translated in the boundaries of the municipal power authorities. And the communist laws, which are in the, we have to be to put them in the minds of the people. We have to use not the Soviet methods, but the progressive European methods if we want to join Europe. The major thinking which are going to bring to Vinnytsia to simulate the young generation, maybe older generation, that they can change their mentality and they have not to think in a directive way. And so I will ask those who are going to be involved in those days or later on to teach somebody or to tell that we can think in different way, and that actually this is much more important result when we are thinking a very limited framework. We once again would like to remind you that we are going to have the visual part of that, the discussion platform where we're going to invite all the experts, all those willing to speak up their minds or their opinion. Also, we are going to organize workshops and trainings of different nature where people will have the opportunity not only to talk, but to come up with a real product. And taking into consideration that this is a precedent, nobody has done anything like that before, we're going to provide a roadmap for the resolution which can be used in order to model or remodel and to be applied in different regions, especially if we are talking about the eastern regions. We are talking about public organizations, those people who are indifferent. The major task for them to know how to respond to the fact when the decommunization laws are going to be implemented in their respective regions. So once again, the mission of this resident above the block is try to avoid some conflict situations which could be associated with those laws. We'd like to come up with certain resolution or the roadmap which would demonstrate the mechanisms of implementation or be involved in those problems, and which product can be used when we are talking, when we are trying to change something, or what we are going to change it for. And we understand too well that this is not an easy task. Nobody has done anything like that before us, but we do not have other alternative, because the precedent which we had yesterday in Rio, when in one of the universities they tried to demolish, let's say, or to disassemble the big mosaic picture which was there for more than 30 years. Specifically, the artistic and creative initiative people went there, and when they asked why are you doing that, there were two remarks. One was humorous: we are trying to let's say, to cancel the stars, and then somebody else said, and it's going to kind of dilapidate it and it's being ruined, so we would like to tear it off, though there were no damage done. So we are talking about the mosaics in general, speaking about the cultural legacy. We have to be well balanced and real experts in those issues, not to look like barbarians or vandals, and that's why we are talking about any kind of artistic work, social realism and constructivism. We have to defend it. if you would like to put this kind of label Soviet on the then Russian Empire one or some other slogan, we are going to live in the status of the continuous ruination. If we cannot offer some kind of alternative, then sorry, but we are going to live in the third ruin. One more thing, when the artistic works are being let's say eliminated, this is not stemming, well, it's not, I cannot push anybody to create some new creative works. They have to understand that the new power, new people can come to the power and again eliminate something new, so we have to be very humane and to preserve our cultural memory and legacy, especially talking about the artistic works. Thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any questions in the audience? I have a question. Could you tell us a bit more about the relationship between the organizers of this project, this residence, and the municipal powers or authorities in Vinnytsia, and to which extent, how closely you cooperated? Did you discuss? Did you have any discussion of the concept, or this was on the level getting some permission?
I want to tell you at once. I'm being asked often how Vinnytsia helps you, and I tell that they do not hinder us. But really, Olexandr Fedoryshen had to be here today. He's deputy head of the Decommunisation Commission, and he is very active in the work of the residents. He'll be the moderator and leader of the first discussion. He is the author of some of the topics of the discussion, and he is one of the members of the Organization Commission of Creating the Residence. The city is very progressive, and the city authorities understand this interaction, and there's a huge experience of cooperation with grassroots initiatives or European initiatives. When we started to work with the local authorities, they said, please involve our museums so that this does not look as they order the museums to take part, so that this looks like a dialogue, that we want to bring their experts from progressive museums from other cities as well. And they said that they are going to delegate representatives of the authorities who are into the issues that will be raised during the discussions. In order to understand what the authorities in Vinnytsia are, you have to go there and see how they conduct the dialogue. And the initiatives that are happening in this city, they are being supported very much. And of course, the authorities do have what to share with. We have another question. Sergei Kutnikov, Maninform Agency. First of all, thank you, Vinnytsia residents. You have a very interesting artistic testing grounds for different projects, and I remind you that when Lithuania suggested that we together mark the jubilee of Lithuanian and Ukrainian victory over the Tatar troops on the Sini Vody. There was no support for this initiative in the parliament. But my question is, the residents over the bog and the events in the east of Ukraine, how can this raise our national awareness and public activism and the specific help to raise the level of Ukrainian awareness in the East? I am from Mariupol, and I want to see your projects in my city and probably get involved in them. The cultural residence is within the program of cultural diplomacy between the regions of Ukraine. We went to Mariupol recently and we showed them how you can organize your leisure, and it's very interesting that the cultural diplomacy between regions conducts dialogue not according to geographical distribution, but because of according to our mindsets. We first of all place accent on the cities which either were occupied or where the mood is not pro-Ukrainian, and we'll have to talk how to launch the peaceful process and how to try to live in this country peacefully. And you see that the banner of the Ukrainian Crisis Media Center has changed, and we have everything that helps cultural development, works against war. And there's been war in Ukraine for quite some time, so we have to ask ourselves, if we cannot finish this war with the instruments that we use, maybe we shall switch over to other instruments, and maybe art and cultural diplomacy will help. We are talking about our common history, our common values, and solving all the problems that we have. This project is first of all aimed at avoiding conflict situations that will be very, very acute in the eastern Ukraine, because for them this is this history that began in 1917 is very much alive, and we first have to convince them that they should remove the monuments of those times and then remove them. We are for peace and for Ukraine. No other questions. Thank you very much for your presentation. We wish you every success, and we will expect you to come here again to the Ukrainian Crisis Media Center. Our next briefing is at 2:30.